Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's Melissa from Living a Creative Life, and I am delighted to have a special guest today, Tara Mohr, who is an expert on women's leadership and well-being. And I have personal experience with Tara. We actually met originally when Tara bought a ketubah from me, a Jewish marriage contract, when she got married many years ago, and it was really cool to reconnect online. And I've interviewed you before, Tara, and I wanted to bring you back now because you are about to rerun your really landmark program, Playing Big for Women. And I just went through Playing Big earlier this year, and it was so profoundly transformational. It made a huge difference in my life, I have to tell you. And I'm really proud to be an affiliate for Playing Big. But even if I weren't an affiliate, I would still be crowing about this program. And I honestly, I don't think a week goes by when I do not reference you or Playing Big, either with a client or in a class I'm teaching. You have just gathered together so much incredibly empowering information, and it just has made a huge difference in my life. So I want to thank you for that personally.
Thank you. I'm honored by that.
And I wanted to ask you, what led you to create this program?
Well, at the time that I created it, I had been coaching women for a few years. So I was working with women one-on-one, and I was working with all these women that I was calling them brilliant women because I could see they were creative, they were talented, they had interesting ideas and insights for their companies or their industries or for our world. And I kept having the feeling that they were playing small. And that they couldn't really see and recognize their own brilliance. And I unfortunately recognized this same tendency in myself. So I started really working with women around how do we start playing bigger. And I was very much on that journey myself too. How do I play bigger as a writer? How do I play bigger as an entrepreneur? How do I play bigger with my voice in the world and really see myself as deserving to be at the tables that I wanted to be at. And that was my work as a coach, was helping women play big. And I started to discern what tools and ideas really actually helped women start playing bigger and which were like fluff or which made a big difference and which only made a little difference. And so when I started to think about how to scale the impact of my work and create a group program, the phrase playing big immediately popped to mind. And the curriculum outline flowed out very quickly. You know, it was one of those things where I sat down and in 10 minutes, it's like, oh gosh, session one's going to do this and choose it. Because I had really been doing that work one-on-one and I had walked that journey myself. So it came from this kind of in the trenches experience of seeing what actually made a real difference efficiently for women and then structuring that into a group learning experience. And I know a lot of your audience is entrepreneurs and creatives, and I think there's something really magical about having a period where you're doing one-on-one work, where you really get to see what lands with people and what makes a difference, and then being able to create something more scalable from that instead of from, imagining what's going to be powerful at the whiteboard in your office.
Oh, absolutely. That's so true. I know that the programs and things that I have created that have really hit have been as a result of working with people, whether one-on-one or in small groups or whatever, and seeing, oh gosh, you really need this, or this is something that will really help. And it's putting stuff out there that helps you figure out what to put out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've run Playing Big twice before, right?
Yeah, this is going to be round 3.
So what have you learned from the previous times that you've run Playing Big, and what, if anything, is going to be different this time around?
Well, one thing I learned is that women are often very ambivalent about the very concept of playing big. Not just for the reason of I'm not sure if I want to. I'm not sure if I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I measure up to be a leader in my field, to really go for my real professional dreams. I'm not sure if I want to. Is this going to mean that I lose my quality of life, that I lose my beautiful, quiet daily rituals? Is it going to mean I stand out too much from people I love and want to be connected to? But then there's also this concern of like, is that even sustainable for the planet if everyone plays big? And is that the problem, that we're in this culture where we're thinking everything needs to be big and bigger and biggest? So I think all of those concerns are really valid. And they actually point to why women need to redefine playing big for themselves. And what I've learned from watching now hundreds, 250 women go through playing big is that playing big is really an inside game. It is about each woman accepting, because I think most of us already know, accepting what playing big really means for us, which is it's sharing our real voice in the world. It's going for our authentic aspirations and dreams. And letting go of the world's definition, the old school definition, the materialistic definition, the corporate definition, whatever that may be. So, I'd say Playing Big is a program that really embraces having success and impact in the world, but always from the foundation of what your own inner wisdom is really telling you playing big looks like for you.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I know the course and community that I co-run with Corey Huff, Art Empowers, we're very much about busting the starving artist mindset. And the very first lesson inside the course is one that I created around busting the starving artist mindset. And it's either video number 1 or video number 2 talks specifically about what is your definition of success. Because if you're going for this vision of success that has nothing to do with what you and your heart really want, but is reflected by the world around you, like you got to have a Mercedes and you got to have the big house or whatever. What if you don't want a house? What if you want to sail around the world? What if that's your definition of success? Then going after the Mercedes is not going to make you happy, right? That's not the way to bust your own starving artist mindset. So that is so much of what it's about, is what is your definition of playing big? What is your definition of success? What's going to work for you?
Yes. So in the course, there's this whole range there are certainly, the course is about half entrepreneurs and half non-entrepreneurs, which is really interesting. So there are people trying to play big in their business, in their art work, in climbing into a greater leadership position in an organization, in activism or volunteer work they're doing. So there's a lot of different definitions of playing big. And then there's a shared journey we walk in terms of the inner change that needs to happen and some of the practical skills that enable us to play big.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I really liked a lot about my playing big experience, was the diversity of the women in the community. So we all have these desires to play bigger, and we all have stucknesses or in similar areas that we can relate to each other around. But, somebody's a dog trainer and somebody else is an artist and somebody else is, I don't know, a business person in working for a big company or something like that. Yeah. So it was really cool seeing all the similarities and the differences in this big group of women.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So there was so much in the Playing Big program that made a difference for me. And two of the elements that were especially powerful were, one, learning how to deal with the inner critic, which included one of the things about that was really big for me was learning how to recognize what is the inner critic, what is that voice, as opposed to the voice of truth, right? Or the voice of wisdom, because it's so sneaky. So that was one of the really big things for me. And then also learning how praise can be as damaging as criticism, which was such a counterintuitive thing for me to learn. And I am so grateful to you for putting the work of Carol Dweck on my radar. She wrote a book called Mindset for anybody out there who's watching. And looking back on my own life, I could see so many places where I was stuck and I thought it was just a confidence issue, but it wasn't a confidence issue. It was a mindset issue. I was really stuck in a belief system that some people were just born with the ability to, pick a thing, whether it was to write well or to make money. And I just didn't have that gene. And understanding the concept of mindsets and the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, which I've written about a lot on my blog, has been really, really huge. And then a third thing as well, you talk a lot in Playing Big about the importance of sharing our stories. And that also, I think, is really counterintuitive for a lot of us. We get the message that we shouldn't brag, or we just believe that, our story couldn't possibly be of interest to others. It couldn't possibly be important. But in fact, as you've shown with your own life and your own work, that is where a lot of our power resides, is in our own stories and being able to share our stories.
Absolutely. Yes. Can I talk a little bit about some of those things?
Please. Yeah.
These are my favorite topics. I'm like chomping at the bit to, so the inner critic, I'm so passionate about all women getting some basic inner critic training, and all adolescent girls too. That's
oh my God. Yes.
Projects, like, let's get them before they go through that hell with their inner critics for that period of adolescence. But the core idea that we're working with in Playing Big is that we all have an inner critic. And unfortunately, we're never going to graduate from it, because when women like Gloria Steinem and Ariana Huffington are talking about their inner critics, I just think we're probably not going to graduate from ours if they did from theirs. But what distinguishes someone like a Gloria Steinem or an Ariana Huffington, what allows people to do incredible things while they have an inner critic, is to understand how to not take direction from the inner critic, but basically learn how to hear its voice, know it for what it is, which is an irrational liar, and name it when you hear it, and let it be like background music. Let it be like background noise. And I think when women can get that, the possibilities become so endless, because really most of us are quite run by our inner critic.
Yeah.
And since we live in a culture that so values critical thinking and thinks that critical thinking is also rational thinking, is also realism, is good for you, we're confused. And when we're really just shredding ourselves with our inner critics, we think we're being like good, realistic stewards of our, of ourselves and of our dreams. So that's really big. And then the second piece about praise, you and I share the blessing and challenge of having been in really rigorous academic environments.
Yes.
Where, we got a lot of praise as students probably along the way that helped us get to those environments. We did the good girl in school, study on the test and do well thing. And unfortunately, what happens with that is that we can become really dependent on praise. And a lot of women were raised in one way or another to be good girls, become really dependent on praise. And then our attachment to it can really get in the way of our doing revolutionary work.
Yeah.
And most people aren't going to praise us for truly revolutionary work. And Carol Dweck's research shows that praise can actually make us very reluctant to challenge ourselves in the areas where we're praised, because we're afraid that the praise is going to be disproven. So if someone says you're a writer, you don't want to go be with all the best writers because you're afraid it's going to show you're really not a great writer. So I had that hugely in my life, particularly with my writing. And when I started to read some of the research on praise and understand it's not in fact true that praise makes you more confident, it tends to make you more insecure. I saw my challenges with my creative life in a new way, and just got really passionate about helping everybody detach from both praise and criticism. And so we work on that quite a bit in the course.
Yeah. Now, as I said, that was just a very powerful module for me. So I wanted to ask you one more question, Tara. What has changed for you? Speaking of sharing our stories, what has changed for you in your own playing big journey in the past year?
Hmm. Well, I have reclaimed dance in the past year.
This is another parallel that you and I have, the dance background.
So, did I freeze? Okay, my bad. For me, playing big has a lot to do with sharing my creative voice. And when I was growing up, dance was a huge part of that for me. And I really lost dance as completely as I also lost writing for a while. But I found a way to reclaim writing starting about 4 years ago. But I hadn't found a way to reclaim dance. And then this past year kind of got up the courage, plus life helped me out by having a good friend be like, I go to this dance class. Come in, go with me. Okay, I get the message. And taking that back, and I think that's been a really huge piece of myself that I've gotten back. And for me, playing big is, showing up, accepting my body, taking care of that body, expressing myself in movement, not worrying what other people think. Those are such great things to take with you out of the dance studio too. So that's been really, really big. And then the other piece has been I'm doing a lot of mainstream media now. So, whether stuff with Jillian Michaels or later this month I'm going back on the Today Show, and getting comfortable with that feels like a really stretch form of playing big for me too.
That is so cool. You and I could probably talk for weeks about dance and reclaiming and all of the emotional, psychological baggage crap that that goes into that. I have my own story. That would be fun sometime to to have that conversation.
Too, because I'm dancing in New York City, so.
Oh yeah.
Where it all went down, I know.
Yep, absolutely. Well, this has been such a treat, Tara. Thanks so much for making the time to talk with me today. Just real quickly, how can people find you?
Yeah, so come on over to taramohr.com. It's TARAMOHR.com. And I'm sure you'll have the link too. And there's lots of great free resources there. You can get the 10 Rules for Brilliant Women workbook, which is a really fun, free download. And you can also find out more about the Playing Big program through the link below, I'm guessing. Yes?
Yes, absolutely, which I, of course, highly, highly recommend, having been through it myself and absolutely loving it. So thanks again, Tara. It's been a real treat.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.